My name is Rick, and I never believed in haunted houses until the winter I rented one at the edge of a small, snow-covered town. The place was old, but beautiful, sitting alone at the end of a narrow road surrounded by frozen woods. I found it online for an unbelievably cheap price, which should have been my first warning. Still, I needed somewhere quiet to stay for a few months, and the isolation actually appealed to me. When I arrived, snow was falling heavily, blanketing the roof and porch in thick white silence. The house looked peaceful, almost picturesque. Inside, it smelled faintly of old wood and something colder I couldn't quite place. The floors creaked with every step, but that's normal for older homes. I told myself the uneasiness I felt was just nerves from being somewhere new. The first 2 nights were calm, aside from the usual sounds: wind brushing against the siding, pipes ticking, the soft groan of wood settling. But on the 3rd night, during a heavy snowstorm, I woke up suddenly at exactly 2:17 a.m. I didn't wake because of a loud noise. I woke because I felt like someone was standing in my room. My eyes adjusted slowly to the darkness, and I stared toward the bedroom door. It was closed, nothing moved. The silence was overwhelming. I lay back down, convincing myself it was just my imagination, but I barely slept after that. The next morning, I noticed the front door was unlocked. I clearly remembered locking it the night before, struggling slightly with the stiff deadbolt. I brushed it off as forgetfulness. Later that evening, while sitting in the living room as snow hammered against the windows, I heard slow footsteps upstairs. Not random creaks, actual footsteps. They moved from one end of the hallway to the other, paused, then continued. My heart started pounding so hard I could hear it in my ears. I grabbed my phone and slowly climbed the staircase. When I reached the top and turned on the hallway light, every door upstairs was wide open. I was certain I had left them closed. The air up there felt freezing, far colder than downstairs. I checked each room. Empty. Windows locked. Nothing disturbed, except in the small storage room at the end of the hall. On the wooden floor were wet footprints. They began near the back wall and stopped abruptly in the middle of the room, as if whoever made them had simply vanished. I didn't sleep that night. The following evening, the storm intensified. Around 2:17 a.m., I woke again, this time to whispering. It was faint at first, blending with the wind, but slowly it became clearer. It sounded like someone murmuring under their breath while walking through the hallway. The whispers moved toward the staircase, then descended step by step. I could hear the wood creaking beneath invisible weight. Then I heard the distinct sound of someone sitting down on the couch in the living room, the cushion compressed with a soft thud. I stayed frozen in bed until morning. When sunlight finally filled the house, I forced myself downstairs. In the center cushion of the couch was a deep indentation, as if someone had been sitting there for hours. On the coffee table sat a black and white photograph that hadn't been there before. It showed the same house decades earlier, surrounded by snow. A group of people stood on the porch, dressed in old-fashioned winter clothing. Slightly apart from them was a tall figure. Its face had been scratched out violently. I turned the photo over, and written in faded ink were the words, "Still here during winter?" I decided to leave immediately, but the roads were completely blocked by snow. Authorities advised everyone to stay indoors another day. That final night was unbearable. Temperature inside the house dropped suddenly. My breath fogged in the air. At exactly 2:17 a.m., every door upstairs slammed shut at the same time. The house shook violently. Heavy footsteps ran across the hallway above me, faster this time, frantic. Then they pounded down the staircase, each step louder than the last. I stood frozen in the living room as the final step creaked directly in front of me. The air distorted slightly like heat waves, but cold. Then I felt it. Freezing hand pressed down on my shoulder. I couldn't move. I couldn't breathe. A voice whispered directly into my ear, clear and slow. "You shouldn't have stayed." Suddenly, the front door burst open, snow and wind blasting into the house as the lights went out. I must have blacked out because when I opened my eyes, it was morning. The storm had passed. The house was silent. The photograph was gone. The couch cushion looked normal. The doors upstairs were open again, as if nothing had happened. I packed my things and left without looking back. Months later, curiosity got the better of me, and I searched the property's history. In 1947, during a brutal winter storm, The man living in that house disappeared. Search parties never found his body. Neighbors claimed they saw him standing in the upstairs window days after he vanished, staring out at the snow, watching. I don't know what I experienced in that house, and I don't care to explain it. But every winter, when snow starts falling heavily, I wake up at exactly 2:17 a.m., and for just a second, I feel that same cold hand resting on my shoulder.